Today's episode is one you will not want to miss, as we are joined by the renowned Dr. Sophie Keller, PhD.
I am here to do this work and to make a difference to people's lives, and I figure one person at a time.
I have the third best accent now.
Are some people just bad at dating?
Yeah, they really are.
There's probably around 500,000 people that you would actually want to marry.
You've really hit on something that is so important and that I say all the time to my clients, which is...
Welcome back to another episode of First Rounds on Me, a First Rounds on Media production. Today's episode is one you will not want to miss, as we are joined by the renowned Dr. Sophie Keller, PhD, psychologist, author, and expert in positive psychology. With over 2 decades of experience helping individuals and organizations cultivate happiness and well-being, Dr. Keller has dedicated her career to unlocking the keys to a happier, healthier life. In this episode, we'll explore the fascinating intersection of modern dating, relationship dynamics, and the psychology behind human connection. From understanding the impact of dating apps to navigating rejection and building resilience, Dr. Keller will share practical tools and insights that will help you find and sustain meaningful connections. Dr. Keller, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are so very welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
I have the third best accent now, not the second best accent.
Yeah, I know. We've all got different accents.
I know, we're so multicultural.
We
really are.
I love it.
We were just picking an audio for our commercial today. We had selected Australia first, and then Hannah was like, I don't like it. And then we put the British accent, and we were like, yeah, that sounds so soothing. Let's go with that one.
It hits the way that we wanted to.
Got it. Absolutely.
So I want to start with, you've dedicated your career to kind of helping people find happiness in their lives and in their relationships and even in their workspaces. Can you tell us what inspired your journey into the science of happiness and well-being?
Yeah. Well, my journey really began when I was really young, and I was about 14, and I was being bullied at school. And I thought, I was so miserable, I was so depressed that I thought, well, what am I going to do? I really need to find a way to find peace inside, regardless of what's happening to me on the outside. How can I find quiet on the inside? So I went to study transcendental meditation at 14, and I practiced twice a day until I was 28 and discovered yoga, Ashtanga yoga basically, and then I started to practice a few hours a day of yoga. But I used to drive my mum mad, actually, because I'd come back from school and I go, hold on, Mum, I've just got to go and meditate for 20 minutes. So she'd want me to be setting the table and helping her with dinner. And I was like, I've got to meditate.
Got to center myself, Mum.
Yeah, got to center myself. So really it began out of feeling kind of a bit lonely, a bit depressed, and feeling, well, God, spirit, whatever you want to call the creative force or whatever your name is, for it, for her, for him. Yeah, I feel that I wasn't put here to be unhappy. I feel that I needed to find a way. There must be a reason why I'm here, and I'm going to just center myself. I'm going to let everything wash off me like water off a duck's back, and I'm not sure that was the best method, by the way. I probably should have given a few girls, a swipe.
Yeah. Or just a stern talking to.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know if that would have helped in England, but hey. So, yeah, I mean, I think so that's really where it started. And from there, I started to go to therapists and do different mind, body, and spirit therapies. So I was doing Alexander technique 3 times a week.
What's that?
That's for posture and, how you walk, how you sit. I was doing Feldenkrais. I was doing polarity therapy, all these different therapies that are kind of in now. Pilates 3 times a week. And there was just one Pilates teacher at the time in the UK. And also going to different kinds of therapists. So I felt that I was on my own journey, to find my own way, and just was born to do the work that I do now. I am here to do this work and to make a difference to people's lives. And I figure one person at a time. And that's how I walk through my work.
How
really
fantastic that is that it came. I mean, I think that a lot of people who are experts in their field, and I think even in a way Joe can kind of relate to this in terms of this app, is like it's born from your own experiences when you step into a role that you were truly meant to be in. And the fact that it was born from your own loneliness and your own trials and tribulations with it. And then you thought to yourself, not only how can I help apply this to myself and to my own life, but then how can I help other people apply this to their own life and be better versions of themselves? That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's
Thank you.
Exactly right.
And what do you mean by like getting bullied in school? Like, because I think that's a hot topic, and I think it's a very important one, especially with kids today. Because there's half the debate that says, you know, being bullied creates resilience and, you know, makes you kind of figure out conflict resolution, but also you don't want bullying to go too far. So what were some of the things that you kind of went through? And
I agree with you. I think that it's really helped me with conflict resolution. I think that I was teased a lot for freckles and different things like that.
Ironic considering the fact that freckles are so beautiful and so hot right now.
And then also in the UK, and I don't know if it's Australia as well, but we have the tall poppy syndrome. So you can't be too good at things. So I was quite bright, but I was only bright because I worked really hard. I was sports captain of every sport. I was really into drama. So I really applied myself.
Oh, so you were just torn down.
I was
for being
torn
good at what you were
down,
doing.
the whole time. So that was kind of difficult. And I felt that mentality really doesn't really suit my personality at all. Probably why California is quite good for me, because I think people just kind of want you to do well. I haven't had that experience here, actually. So it's much more chilled.
Very ironic that you say that, because I think that a lot of people, considering the industries here, and perhaps not like California as a whole, but perhaps Los Angeles, where there are so many industries that are so competitive, like modeling, acting, even like, you know, in kind of tech, all these kind of things, where they do quite, not contend with tall poppy syndrome, but contend with this like, I have to be better than you type of situation. But I'm so glad that you yourself haven't experienced that, because it's given you a really beautiful landscape to operate within.
I really don't feel that. You know, that's not one of my issues, the envy issue. I love strong women. I connect with them. My best friends are all top of their field. And for me, if I'm competitive with anyone, it's with myself. That it's not competitive with myself. I just go, okay, now what's my next step? What can I do next? What can I, you know? So I really just methodically and thoughtfully sort of take my next step.
I love that.
Smart,
I think most people who want to be successful should think that way. Just how could I be a little bit better every single day?
How can I do more? How can I make more of a difference? What do I need to do? And of course I get it wrong half the time.
Well, that's the key to it, is like knowing that you're not going to get it right every time, being okay with that.
Yeah, and it's also knowing what you don't want to do and crossing those things off the list as much as what you do want to do. And I've gone through stages. I went through it during COVID, where I was like, okay, what's the next step? How can I make a difference more? What can I do more? And that's kind of how I go about it.
I think that's really beautiful. It's the constant pursuit of not perfection, but progress. And I think progress as for you as a human being, and then progress for like your circle, and then progress for the world itself. Is like there's all of these different stages to it. But if you're constantly kind of like working on at least one of those, you're headed in the right direction. Yeah,
because, you know, this comes back to, I'm sure something which is, you know, that we'll talk about, because dating has a lot to do with it as well, which is how can we heal and grow in this lifetime? And that is a real question to ask. And if we are, you know, I have this quote, and it's Lao Tzu, be really whole and all things will come to you. And that quote drove me as a kid. The more whole I was, I knew that if I was completely and fully myself, I would magnetize and attract the perfect person for me. And I needed to just work on myself. I didn't know how they would come to me. They can come in any way. And I am a great believer that there are 7 billion people on the planet, and there is someone out there for you, and you don't know where you're going to meet them. You could be at a bar, at the gym, you could be at the supermarket.
On a dating app.
On a dating app. You can be anywhere and you can meet them, right? And it doesn't matter your age, and it doesn't matter where none of these things matter. If you are whole and complete, and what you want is to magnetize someone perfect for you, you will do that.
100%. I don't know if it was Andrew Huberman or somebody on the Jay Shetty podcast said that there's probably around 500,000 people that you would actually want to marry. Like that's the actual number. So people who get hung up on looking for the perfect person, or that they miss the perfect person, he said there's like 500,000 people that you would actually want to
that are somewhat compatible, if not completely compatible with you. Well, that's really interesting, because you just answered one of my questions in terms of like what, in your book, How Happy Is Your Love Life? You offer 50 great tips for finding and kind of like keeping a perfect partner. Yeah. And I was going to ask you if you could share one tip. So I think that that's a really beautiful one. But to kind of bounce off of that, where is it? Sorry, hold up. In your research, have you found that certain human behaviors are more conducive to lasting love and meaningful connections?
I think that, being flexible and realizing that even if there's no perfect person, but there's someone who's perfect for you. And I generally think that if we've all got our issues, but if your issues are different from your partner's, it's really helpful that you don't have the same issues, right?
That's very fair.
So, for instance, I have an issue, right? Sharing.
You have an issue?
I have an issue, which is I get FOMO. Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think it's zigzagged through my family, actually. And right now, my husband is in London with my 2 brothers. And I texted big, FOMO, having FOMO.
I'm having big emotions right now.
Big anxiety that I'm not with you guys. And whereas my husband, Oliver, doesn't feel it in the slightest, not even a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. And I think that works out really well, because he has the ability to laugh at me and roll his eyes. And so I feel like, okay, I don't need to feel it that much. He doesn't feel it, So anyway, so it chills me out. Mm. And he's got other things that I'm like, oh my God, you're stressing about that. That is like so easy. So I think that one of the keys is that you have different things that you're working on, right?
I think that's so beautifully said. And I think a lot of what you're going to say today, Joe and I can resonate with, or at least like apply to our own life, because I think we can sit there and say that we both have very different worries in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes they overlap, but for the majority, like our anxieties and our worries are like vastly different. I think we do help each other kind of lay
I have one real anxiety.
Flying?
What's yours?
Flying.
Flying,
That's the only thing where my body just stops.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Oh, darling.
I'm not even going to say that you're more likely to have a car accident than fly.
Yeah, I believe me. I read all the stats.
Yeah, you've got it. I'm not even going to say it.
And it's
Forget I said that.
They say it's an irrational fear, and it is, but it's a fear that's in me.
I've got it.
I want to talk about dating apps for a second, just purely because obviously we are a dating app, and my handsome husband created this about 4 years ago, 5 years ago now.
4 years.
And the main purpose of which he started it, and the fact that we've, why we've built it to where it is today, is because we really saw a lot of problems within the dating world, and one of which being this like swipe fatigue, or this illusion of endless options that really weighs people down. And so how do you think that like the dopamine effect of swiping and matching impacts our ability to form deeper, genuine connections?
It's very superficial, the swiping for somebody, right? And I think there's been a lot of pushback recently. The research is that there's been a lot of pushback on these apps where you're just swiping, not meeting them. And I think you will miss quite a lot of great people because your first look, you're looking first and then you're just swiping quickly. And it's a real issue. And I found in my private practice, which is mainly focused on relationships, actually, and that my clients absolutely, some of them do meet people on apps and they do well on them, and others are tired, actually. And they want to meet someone in person. They want to connect. And so there's definitely space for that. And yours sort of, really pushes, which I think is great. You've got that kind of mix, actually, where you are going to meet someone that you wouldn't normally meet if you didn't bump into them somewhere. And it's pushing you to get together with them. And look, there's three kinds of dates. There's one that goes brilliantly, okay? There's one that goes terribly, which makes a great story. And there's the one that's, it's okay. And that's the only one that's a waste of time, really, when you look back. But the other two is either, wow, it's gone great, and either you end up dating or you end up being a friend, or the one that goes terribly and then you're telling your mates about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think before I met Hannah, I started shifting my brain to taking dating apps a little bit more intentionally.
Right.
And every person I went on a date with, say like the 3 or 4 before her, I actually learned something about what I actually wanted, and I learned something about myself. And I think that if I didn't date those 3 or 4 people before her, I wouldn't have been in the position where we would have been compatible in that moment.
You've really hit on something that is so important and that I say all the time to my clients, which is it is really, really important that you date, because you're learning what you want, what you don't want, what you do that gets a great reaction and what doesn't, the kind of qualities that they have that you want, and the ones that you don't. And then you can start writing lists and narrowing it down. And the more clear you are with yourself and the more you put it out into the universe, the more likely you are going to magnetize that person.
I think that goes back into what you were saying in terms of like you being whole, right? You being the wholest version of yourself. And
all coming back.
Because we often have conversations about that people go into dating with these preconceived notions or these lists, right? And it's more so like these deal breakers of like what and sometimes it is an incredibly superficial level, and that's where we come in and say, hey, like maybe broaden that spectrum. Like I only want to date a fellow who's 6'5", who has an accent, you know what I mean? Like these superficial things. But when it comes to a list of like what you truly don't want in your life, whether that be a partner that does X, Y, and Z or doesn't share the same values or morals as you, they are really important to have. And the only way that you get to that space of knowing what you don't want is going through the journey of dating.
And it's so true, because I think now that I think about it in more detail, so the 3 people, and you know about them obviously, that I met before you, one of them, we had a lot in common about what we actually liked in life, but we really didn't have much of a love connection.
Yeah.
The other person had like the dream job that I would want my potential life partner to have. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool that you do this. But I just didn't really communicate with her very well. And I was like, okay, not for me. And then the third person, when we kissed, there was no spark. So I was like, okay, these are all 3 people that I thought on paper would be perfect for me, but there's something really missing that I can't put my finger on. And then when I met Hannah, I was like, I don't know what it is, but something is right.
But ironically, and I think a lot of different ways, and we talk about this quite often, is the fact that on paper, we're not very compatible. Like if you write all the things down of like perhaps what we both wanted in a partner, what we thought that we wanted in a partner, it isn't there. But because we've gone on dates, and it's not to say that we're habitual daters out there every night, you know what I mean? But we learnt from each date of going, or each relationship or each situationship where you just go, okay, that's what I want and that's what I don't. And for you, like, you needed a love connection. Yeah, this person ticked all of these boxes, but like you needed that oomph, that like, I can't wait to see this person type of situation, not just like a friendly vibe. So fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people who come to me and they're not dating, I get them dating immediately.
How do you do that?
I see you need to date if you're working with me. There's some people, they've come out of a long relationship. So I have this program, How to Get Over a Breakup in 30 Days and Meet Your Ideal Partner. And it's really intense, 14 modules of really shifting them out of their last relationship and then getting them prepared for something new. And it's really deep, the program. And we really do clear a lot of issues and then get them ready. And it's really worked well. I've had lots of success with it, and people meet their life partners after because they're shifting through it with me. So, but most of the time I want people dating. We need to know what they're doing right, what's working and what's not working. And you can really see there is a process to it. It's not just, you just need to get good at it as well.
I used to love first dates. I absolutely loved them. I was so excited to meet somebody new and like ask them questions and like see their face light up.
Wait, so this is an interesting question to pose. Yeah. Are some people just bad at dating?
Yeah, they really are. Just not great at being relaxed or, being themselves, or, you have this thing of a first date and then you're overdressing up or not being yourself. And again, it comes back to this, be really whole and all things will come to you. Everything comes back to that. When the more yourself you are, the more chilled you are, the more on your first date you dress just as you dress, you are yourself, whatever. That is you, and you must be you.
See, that's why I like to throw away the first 15. You know how some people say I could tell if I'm going to like this person in the first minute?
Yeah.
I strongly disagree with that because I feel like the first 15 minutes you meet somebody new, it's not them. You have to get through the nervousness and like break their walls down and make them feel comfortable. And then after 15 minutes, you'll start to see the real them.
And also I agree with you. And also people connect through vulnerability. They don't connect through, oh, I do this and that and the other and I seem like this, and you're like, that's just not real. So the more open and vulnerable you are, the more people connect with you and go, oh God, yeah, I can connect.
How important is it for people to be vulnerable, especially like in the first date or the first couple of dates, and how can they kind of go about that without perhaps feeling overexposed?
Yeah, I think just being open, and fun. Obviously, the first dates, dating is meant to be fun. And also at the same time, just be open and honest. And it really does work.
I think people are so afraid to be open and honest, though. I think like in what we see quite a lot when we talk to people about dating, whether it's on the podcast or it's out in the street, and people are either so jaded by the entire dating process, and I think largely in part to do with these like large dating app juggernauts who've created all of these issues, or they've been burned in past relationships, or they feel like this societal pressure that they have to be a certain thing to then be fun and to then be accepted on a first date. But I love what you said, because I think that the more that you are yourself, the more that you are uniquely you, and there is this person out there that's just going to be so attracted to that. Like, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. He's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Maybe.
Ego. But there's always someone out there who's just going to love and appreciate you for who you are. So why go into it with facade? Like, I understand that it's hard not to be jaded, but dating is meant to be fun, and finding a person is meant to be fun.
Yeah. And, not to be taken so overly seriously. And the other thing that I find is that there's, in the first date, when you say, oh, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to? And the other person's going, oh my God,
I say that's a third date question.
How about asking, what movies do you like? And
Have you ever lived anywhere else?
Yeah. What are you into? But instead of firing these questions where you feel pinned against the wall of, it just feels like, oh my God, they're looking to get married and I don't even know I've just remembered their name, or I keep looking. Yeah, I don't know what their name is.
To answer
I don't know their last name.
Yeah, we're not prepared to answer the question that's not in our little box. So if you throw us for a loop right away, we're just like stunned.
But then also, ironically, we talked about that on our first date.
Organically, though.
But it was very, very organically.
It happened,
right?
Yeah.
As it was an hours-long date. So as time went on, we got comfortable. We asked deeper questions. But
no, but 100%. I think when people go but again, that comes back to like this preconceived notion, this list that people have, and they go, okay, well, I know what I want. I want marriage, and I want children, and I want this in a partner, and I want this in a partner. So they'll go into a first date like brimming with like overly brimming with like, okay, these are all of the expectations I have, and then they'll. Literally under the table. Okay, yep, sweet. Or like that's mark right next to there.
Exactly.
And it just creates so much expectation and so much pressure for a first date, which I love what you said. Like, and we have reiterated this multiple times in the podcast. First dates are meant to be fun.
Wait, what was your first date with your partner?
Yeah, well, my first date with Oliver was
such an English name, by the way.
It's my nephew's name as well, and I love it.
I love that name so much.
It's so beautiful.
And we met actually in London in Regent's Park, and we met at an innocent smoothies called Innocent Smoothies festival, and it was in Regent's Park, and it happened to be on the pitch where he used to play sport as a kid at school. He's not a big sports person, but hey, our first date, let me just say something, that I had just done my motorbike test. So I was very excited when he turned up on a Vespa.
Oh.
Okay. In fact, that was such a big tick for me. And his mum had said to him, no girl is going to want to be with you if you don't have a car. He turns up on his Vespa. We go round all the sights of London on his Vespa. It was a beautiful summer's day, and I'm on the back, and halfway through, I think we were at the Dome or something. We went from Primrose Hill, we got to the Dome, and I had my arms around him, and I said, I am so happy right now.
On the first date?
Yeah.
Wow.
And his whole energy just went,
Dr. Keller, that's so sweet.
But how'd you meet him?
I met him. I was there with my brother, and
at this juice,
and having a picnic with my brother and some of his friends, and I saw this dot really far away. I mean, it was like a dot. It was a person that was a dot, and so on the other end of the field, I stood up. I don't know what came over me, but spirit guided me. Literally, I stood up and walked. And I walked towards this pinhead, and I said, hi, I'm Sophie. And he said, hi, I'm Ollie. I said, who are you here to see? And he goes, I'm here to see Nick and Charlie. And I said, oh, Nick's my brother.
Oh, he was friends with your brother?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So he came over, and then our first date was a week later. We got engaged within 3 weeks of being together.
Wow.
Okay.
Stop it.
So we were together for 3 weeks in London. I came back to Los Angeles. Then I went back for 4 days in October. Then he came back. We went to Tulum, and he asked me to marry him. So we'd only been in each other's presence for 3 weeks.
It must be really hormonal, but I really want to cry. That's so beautiful. And how long have you been married?
21 years we've been together. And 20 years married.
Dr. Keller.
That's amazing.
It's amazing, isn't
it? That really is like a
Yeah.
divine intervention.
I could actually picture it too, because I've been to London once, and I stayed because it's the Regent's Park. That's in Soho, right? Like Marylebone?
Part of it, a little bit of it is Marylebone, you're right. And some of it's Primrose Hill, but you can walk through.
That's where I stayed, and I remember it so vividly. It's the most beautiful area.
Beautiful area, yeah. Absolutely. So, but this is how come I know how to draw that person to you. I know how I did it. So I try to teach people. That's what I do, is teach people how to do it. because it's quite a deep process. And because we're here to heal and grow in this lifetime, the goal is that you just keep healing and growing inside, and you will magnetize and attract the perfect person for you if you do that. But if you don't do that, you'll magnetize and attract someone who has similar masks to you, and it is unlikely to last. And it's amazing. I have a 15-year-old son, and the amount of parents who are not together, you would not believe it. I would say it's at least 90%.
Yeah, my parents aren't together.
So, okay, so now this is something that's really been going on at the moment. It wasn't going on when I grew up or where I grew up. So I didn't know. I knew one person that was separated of my parents' friends. Everyone else was together. So, and my parents have been together for 60 years.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So we just celebrated a few weeks ago. But what I'm saying to you is if you are not ready, but you're trying to fill in holes for yourself, and you're just got a goal to get married, to meet someone, get married, have kids, etc., but you're not really mindful about who it is, who you are, whether you are at a place where you feel so whole and you are ready for that perfect person for you, there are troubles ahead, okay? But if you can get to a place where you go, I'm really working on myself, I've really worked on myself, I'm really, really ready to attract that person, then you're more likely to have a relationship that lasts. Now, I'm adding to that because it's not just you two, and you guys remind me of Ollie and I.
Really?
Okay,
Take
a
that as a
number of
massive
years
compliment.
ago, because but it's just you two together, you're working together, and Ollie and I used to work together, and we did some amazing projects together. We worked closely with King Charles for ages. We won a Promax Award for campaign we did for Discovery Networks. And so we just did loads of amazing stuff together, and we built village workspaces together. So we have done amazing projects. Now, the most amazing project, in inverted commas, is our child, right? Now, this is the thing. It's not just, is the relationship great without a child? But if you want to have a child or children, now you're adding other souls into the mix, and the relationship changes, it shifts. And I believe that you need to be so solid and have such a strong backbone, which is your relationship, in order to bring another soul into the mix. You must be tight. You must have had years together so that you are one, so that when you have that soul, you're just opening up the circle of love, right? So I was really scared. I was really pregnant, and I said to Ollie, I said, darling, I'm so worried about having a child because we've got such an incredible relationship and we're so close and there's so much love. We're so deeply in love with each other. And he said, Sophie, we're just opening up the circle of love. And that was all I needed to hear from him. I just needed to hear that. And that is what has happened. We opened it up for our son Judah to come in.
Beautiful name.
And that is what we are now. We are the three of us.
As we're really looking to have children in the very near future, and so to hear that, I think that because that's something that we're both fearful of, is the fact that we work so hard and so much of our life is dedicated towards the app that sometimes we don't have enough time to be able to work on our relationship as a whole. I mean, we love each other, we care for each other, we respect each other very, very deeply, but that's really wonderful to know that that is almost like a prerequisite for a healthy marriage and a healthy child and a happy family, is to really put so much time and energy into the relationship that you have with your partner, so that, as you just said so beautifully, just open up that circle to them.
Yeah. open up to that new soul coming in. And remember, this is the other thing, and I say this to Judah all the time, that it doesn't matter that you've been on this planet a shorter time than Ollie and I. You have your seat at the table. It's the three of us. So what you have to say is really important, because you're in our lives for us, to help us heal and to help us grow, just as we are in yours to do that.
That's amazing.
And Judah loves that. Now, we have a very confident 15-year-old as a result. And we make sure that he feels that he is really part of the circle and that he's here for us as much as we're here for him.
I am taking so many mental notes right now. You have no idea.
You can just listen back to it.
I will for years to come.
Yeah.
All right, I want to play some games.
Yeah,
because games are the funnest. But that was so fascinating, and I think for a lot of people out there who either want to have children and family in the future, or who are on the journey that Joe and I are, where we're like right on the precipice of doing so.
Yeah.
Such vital, important advice.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to play a game called Dating Mythbusters, because I figured to myself, you are an absolute expert in your field.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give you some common dating myths, and I want you to either debunk them or confirm them.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Myth: opposites attract. We've all heard that the saying opposites attract, but when it comes to building a long-term relationship, is that really the case? Do differences in personality actually create sparks, or do similar personalities and values matter more for lasting love?
I think it's really important to have the same values and to be different. Okay, so the basis is the same, right? That you have the same values, and, you know, if loyalty is important, that you know, those things are important to you, that trust, loyalty, etc., whatever your words are. And I do think opposites are good. I do think they do attract. That yin and yang is great, actually. You know, I'm going to give you an example. I work out 6 days a week. My husband doesn't work out.
That's her and I.
I did put on the list that I want an athlete. I didn't get that, but you know, but yeah, I mean, there's loads of ways in that we are totally, totally different. He loves his music. If you ask me to do a playlist for a dinner party just by myself without asking Alexa, I will start hyperventilating. So I think that having differences is great. It is fantastic.
I love that. Yeah. Hannah is very, very much in the arts world, music and art and culture. And I am very much in the sports and fitness world.
Okay.
We're just complete opposites in that way. But I will say that I've opened your doors up to like more music and more art, and you've opened my doors up to more fitness and
not sports.
Hey, listen, I sit down and watch it now.
Right.
I used to just completely leave the room. Myth: love comes when you least expect it. So this suggests that if you're actively seeking love, you will not find it. Is there truth to the idea that love comes when you stop looking, or is that just a romantic notion?
I think that that's true, actually.
Really?
I think when you've settled into yourself and you're quiet and you don't need someone to fill you up and don't need someone to fill in your holes, and you're not looking and searching and trying to complete yourself, you will meet someone because you are so, so whole and feel so whole, and you don't care whether you're going to meet someone or not, because you're so filled up and so happy with your life. And it really happens like that when just out of the blue, someone comes along, because again, it comes back to what we started with, which is when you feel whole and complete. And that is when it happens, just when you least expect it. And then you're ready. And that's also a key for it lasting as well.
Myth: if they really, and I think this is more kind of probably geared towards women, not exclusively, but I think this would come from a woman's perspective. If they really like you, they'll make the first move. Many people believe that if someone truly likes you, they'll always make the first move. Is it fair to wait for the other person to initiate, or does being proactive show confidence and interest?
I don't think there's any hard and fast rules. I think you just go with the flow, and the more natural you are, the better.
So if it feels natural to you to go up to somebody and initiate that conversation.
You both did it.
Heck yeah, we did.
Yeah, I just think it's just chill out. Just chill out. Everyone needs to just chill out. Be yourself.
Yeah.
Just work on yourself. You'll meet someone great. You know, it's not like you're trying to do something that hasn't been done before, right?
You're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not... I'm just got this image of being a top violinist in the world, like you're competing with all these other people. It's people are in and out of relationships every day. They marry every day. They get engaged every day. They meet people every day. What makes you so special that it's not going to happen to you?
Very fair.
Very true. All right, I'm going to play the last little game here, and it's called red flag or green light.
Right.
So I'm going to present you with some common or not so common dating scenarios, and I want you to tell us and tell the people out there if you think that's a red flag or if it's a green light. They take days to reply to messages, but when they do, it's always warm and engaging.
Days.
Yes. So is it like, is their response time is super inconsistent, but is that an indicator of the fact that they're not interested or that they're...
I don't like that.
You don't like it?
No, I don't like it.
If someone that you were coaching or kind of guiding through their dating journey and they had that experience, you'd be like, that's not good. That's a red flag.
I would say, I'm trying to think because I do this podcast, Swipe Right Love Advice on Substack. And what I do is live coaching, for dating and relationships. And I have 30 minutes to help them transform the issue that they've got. So
that's really cool.
I've got like 3, I give them usually 3 bits of practical advice to do immediately. And my goal is that within 30 minutes, so the audience are listening, and if they have that issue as well, or they have a friend who has, they'll completely connect to the issue, right? You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So I did have someone that had that same issue, which is, they're really nice, but I wait for them to respond. And I don't like that someone doesn't respond immediately. I think that they're either busy dating some other people or it's a bit rude, actually.
I just think it creates unnecessary uncertainty that they have to actually ask somebody what's going on here.
Yeah, I think it's very stressful and it's playing games, and games are a red flag to me.
Agreed.
So,
they talk about their ex frequently, but in a very positive light.
Oh, that's nice. I like that they're positive. I'd want to know if they're over their ex. I like that if they talk about their last relationships in a positive way and say, hey, just as we were saying, I got, I really learned from this person. This is what I learned. This is how they weren't great for me, but this is how they were. They're such a great person. They'll meet someone fantastic. They're just not for me in the end, right? They're not my life partner, but I do feel that they'll meet someone great. So does that answer?
It does.
I couldn't say yes or no to that.
No, but I think some of these are not going to be yes or no's. You know what I mean?
It's not really a yes.
Sometimes there is like
it's
a bit
of nuance to that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do 2 more. So they express strong opinions on what you should be doing with your life, like work or hobbies. How do you identify if someone is trying to guide you from a place of care or control?
On the first date?
Well, let's say like in the first month or 2 of kind of like dating, you obviously, maybe you're not even in a fully formed relationship, but you've clearly you have an established baseline with this person, but they're telling you like, hey, you should be doing more of this, or you should be doing this with your life.
Oh, I don't like the word should.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, because should is, should, it's just not a word. Could is a word, right? Not should. I like the idea of someone sort of, if you ask them and they say, and you say, hey, do you have any ideas? And then they give ideas. I don't like that they tell you what to do.
Unsolicited.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
My only pet peeve in life with anybody I meet is unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
You love advice when you ask for it.
Oh, I always ask for
Yes,
advice.
when
but if
you
somebody's
ask, it's
giving
like,
me advice randomly, I'm just like,
But even me, he hates it.
I'm the same as well, that if I ask, I really do want it. But if I don't ask, I've probably thought of what they're about to tell me.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm the same as you, I think. Yeah.
All right. Last one, which I thought this one is kind of interesting. So, and let's use this in the context of like a first or second date.
Okay.
They compliment you repeatedly, should I say, but don't ask any questions about you.
No, absolutely no.
Red flag.
Red flag. That is actually quite...
Like, is that love bombing?
I think, well, I'm crossing out the first bit for a second. If they don't ask questions about you, that makes me feel like they could be, I don't like labels, but a bit narcissistic because they're probably talking about themselves quite a lot. And did you say love bombing?
Yes, I did use
Where
that
they're
word.
just saying, oh, you look so...
Well, it's just like, and then it's also quite superficial. Like if they're not
Very
asking any questions about you, you're like, oh my God, your eyes are so beautiful. Oh my God, I love what you're wearing. Like it's just like this bombardment of compliments, which sounds nice, but if it's not, there's no actual you-ness attached to it. But
they don't have a deep sense of intelligence to ask questions.
It's pretty obvious to ask people questions on a first date.
I would absolutely run in the other direction because they're BSing with the compliments.
Yeah.
And, you know, sure, if you say one, that's really nice, right? But if you're not interested in the other person and who they are and what they're into and stuff,
they're buttering you up.
The better you need to, I think, to be aware of how much they listen is a really good key for first dates. Just see if they're, 2 ears, 1 mouth. If they're listening more than they're speaking, that's a plus. If they're speaking more than they're listening, just be aware of that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You never learn anything when speaking. That's one of the quotes I really like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then learn when you're listening. Well, Dr. Keller, this hour's gone by so quickly, as it always does with some of our favorite guests, and it's been so insightful. So much of what you've said not only resonated with us personally, I can speak for the both of us, I think, but I'm sure with so many of our listeners out there. But before we go, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah, they can. I've just started a new Substack called Swipe Right Love Advice. And so they can pop on there. I do Q&As and I do live coaching as well and a multitude of other things. So they can pop in and join that as we build that up. And I'm at drsophiikeller.com. If you want to work privately with me, you can find me there as well.
Amazing. Well, darling, would you like to do our outro?
Yes. Well, shout out to Jessie, too, for introducing us to you.
Love you,
love Jessie.
Yeah.
Jessie, I think, just landed back in the UK.
No, she just flew off.
Oh, she just flew off.
Fellow
Safe
Brit.
flight.
Yes.
Yeah, my fellow Brit.
But we appreciate you. Check out one of our past episodes. Please subscribe. It helps us so much. We appreciate you. Happy dating, and we'll see you next time.
Happy dating.